After my husband Roger Wilson vanished without a trace, he left behind nothing but a mountain of debt, and a baby girl crying in my arms. Bill collectors came banging on the door, smashing everything in sight. I had no choice but to take my daughter, Alicia, and live a life on the run, hiding from one place to the next. For 30 long years I worked tirelessly day and night without pause or complaint. I paid off every cent of that debt, built a modest fortune of my own, and raised Alicia into a strong, capable woman. I watched her build a life for herself, start a career, and finally settle down. Just when I thought I could finally enjoy a peaceful retirement, a video landed in my inbox and shattered everything I thought I knew. There he was, Roger, the man who disappeared from our lives. Sitting beside him was Eva, the woman who once tore my family apart. And there, nestled affectionately in Eva's arms, was Alicia, my daughter, calling her Mom with the warmth and tenderness I'd once believed was reserved for me. I had been planning to use my savings to buy Alicia a new house. But now, there's no need. A home built on lies and betrayal isn't one I want to be part of anymore. At midnight, Alicia finally came home with her husband Alexander and their daughter, Emma. I heard the noise outside as they walked in. Moments later, Alicia knocked on my bedroom door. "Mom, are you still up? Emma's hungry. If you're not asleep yet, could you fix her something to eat?" I had been waiting all evening. I had good news I couldn't wait to share with them. As I responded to Alicia and started getting out of bed to put on my shoes, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Without thinking, I picked it up. It was a message from my longtime friend, Maria. "I ran into them today, you have to know." Right after the message came a sudden video clip. Before I could even take a closer look, my thumb accidentally hit the screen and the video started playing on its own. On the screen was Alicia, who was supposed to be working late, snuggled up in another woman's arms, looking tender and at ease. Then I saw the woman's face, and the man sitting beside her. My chest tightened. My pupils contracted. The phone slipped from my hand and fell to the floor as I gasped for air, pressing my hand hard against my chest. Even though time had etched lines onto his face, I recognized the man immediately. Roger Wilson, my husband who had vanished more than 30 years ago. And sitting next to him was Eva, the woman he once pined for but never had. No matter how old he's gotten, I'd know that face even if it were reduced to ashes. Roger, who abandoned me and our daughter to run from his debts, who disappeared from our lives without so much as a backward glance, had reappeared in the most brutal way imaginable. But what shook me even more was how familiar Alicia looked with them in that video. As if she'd known all along. What was going on? Why was she so comfortably leaning against Eva, of all people? My mind went blank. My chest felt unbearably heavy, and my heart was pounding faster by the second. Outside the door, Alicia noticed I still hadn't come out. Hearing movement inside, she pushed the door open. "Mom, if you're awake, come on. Emma is starving." She didn't finish the sentence. Her eyes fell on the phone lying on the floor, its screen still lit. The video was paused on the exact moment Alicia looked at Eva and called her Mom. I took a deep breath, picked up the phone and held it out to her. "Care to explain this? And don't tell me that man isn't your father." 30 years ago, after Roger racked up massive debts, he abandoned me and our 1-year-old daughter without warning, disappearing into thin air to escape the creditors. Over the years I tried to find him, but he only ever contacted us when he felt like it. An occasional letter with no return address, a vague update before vanishing again. The debt collectors couldn't find Roger, so they came after me instead, insisting I was responsible since the loans were taken after our marriage. I spent years paying for his mess. And in the past decade there hadn't even been a whisper from him. I had assumed he was dead. But now here he was, alive and well, back in my daughter's life, parading around with the very woman who had once torn my family apart. It felt like a slap in the face. If Roger had even an ounce of responsibility in him, he would never have walked away from his wife and child for over 30 years. I will never forget those years. The relentless knocking on my door, the threats, the fear, the humiliation. Those days still haunt me. They always will. Alicia, realizing there was no way to hide it any longer, finally came clean. But her tone, casual, almost indifferent, made it sound as if everything was perfectly reasonable. "Mom, I only recently got back in touch with Dad. It's been so many years. Whatever happened between you two, can't you leave me out of it? He said he didn't have a choice when he left. He regrets abandoning me and wants to make up for lost time. We just didn't tell you because we knew you'd get upset. The way she said it like it was no big deal made me question myself. Was I overreacting? Was my anger misplaced? Had she really forgotten what our lives were like after her father left? When Roger disappeared, I was still out of work. I'd quit my job while pregnant and hadn't gone back yet. Alicia was barely a year old. The debt collectors came swarming in, demanding money. Money I didn't have because Roger had already drained our bank account before he vanished. They took everything of value from our home. And when that wasn't enough, they kept coming back, barging in, shouting, demanding. When I couldn't pay, they simply camped out in our house, trashing what little we had left, flipping over pots and pans, breaking dishes just to intimidate me. That nightmare lasted for nearly 6 years. I raised Alicia on my own, working 3 jobs just to survive, just to pay off the debt he left behind. It wasn't until Alicia started elementary school that I'd managed to settle most of the major debts. Only then did the house finally feel quiet again. Had she really forgotten all of that? Forgotten how her classmates used to chase her around the schoolyard, mocking her as the deadbeat's daughter? Forgotten those nights when every loud noise at the door sent her into a panic, thinking another debt collector had come to threaten us? Forgotten the tears, the rage, the words she once screamed, that she hated the coward who abandoned us? She must have seen it all on my face. The disbelief, the ache, the fury, because before I could say a word she jumped in. That's all in the past now. And besides, I just want a chance to feel the love of a father again. You can't expect me to give that up, can you? I can't believe it, I muttered to myself. I poured everything I had into raising you, and this is what you have to say? So, all these years your father was missing, he was with Eva Taylor? I lowered my eyes to look at my rough, cracked hands worn from decades of labor and sacrifice. Yet in that video, Eva's hands were soft and well manicured, untouched by a single day of hardship. Mom, Alicia said flatly, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Dad and Eva were in love from the start. He only married you because you were pregnant. You were the one who broke up a couple who truly loved each other. If it weren't for you, Dad wouldn't have had to disappear for so many years and miss out on being in my life. You were the one who never let him go. Hearing her defend them so passionately, I couldn't hold back the fury that surged inside me. I raised my hand, almost striking her in a moment of rage. You're going to hit me? Alicia stared at my hand in disbelief. The noise drew Emma and Alexander into the room. Emma didn't hesitate, she ran straight toward me, throwing her tiny fists against my legs over and over, shouting with each hit. You're a bad grandma. I hate you. You're mean to my mom. You're a terrible, awful grandma. I like Eva better. I don't like you, you're old and ugly. Alexander stood there awkwardly, making no attempt to stop her. My heart sank. In that moment it hit me, cruel and clear. To them, I'd always been nothing more than an outsider in this house. I was the one who raised Alicia single-handedly. When she got married and threw herself into her career, it was only natural she called me to help raise Emma. I spent my entire life working, sacrificing, giving everything I had. And in the end, I raised 2 thankless souls. I reached out to gently push Emma away. I barely touched her, but she stumbled and fell on her backside, bursting into a dramatic ear-piercing wail. Alicia shot me a furious glare and rushed to scoop her daughter into her arms, her eyes red with anger. Dad was right, she snapped. You always explode like some hysterical lunatic whenever things don't go your way. So what if Emma hit you a few times? She's just a child. No wonder Dad left you for 30 years. I stared at her, stunned. I couldn't believe those cruel, gut-wrenching words had come from my own daughter's mouth. So now you're saying it's my fault your father abandoned us? A flicker of guilt crossed Alicia's face, but she still spoke coldly, defensively. That's not what I meant. I'm just saying, what's done is done. Can't you stop making a scene? But I was already too tired, too hurt, to argue with her anymore. Give me Roger's phone number. She froze. Her whole posture changed, suddenly alert, guarded, suspicious. Mom, you're not planning to go after Dad and Eva, are you? I took a deep breath. I couldn't believe how foolish my daughter had become. I paid off your father's debts for decades. Now that he's back, why shouldn't I ask for what's owed to me? The bitterness in my heart was suffocating. All those years of sacrifice, reduced to nothing in her eyes. And Alicia, without missing a beat, snapped back. You have no right to ask him for anything. You chose to pay those debts. I let out a bitter laugh, staring at the daughter I thought I knew. In that moment I realized I'd never truly known her at all. I raised her for more than 30 years, yet in her heart, I couldn't compare to a father who had never lifted a finger for her. I was done. Get out, I said, my voice shaking with fury. I don't want to see you again. This is my house. If anyone's leaving, it's you. Alicia shot back, defiant and unapologetic. She was sure I wouldn't go, convinced I had nowhere else to turn. When she got married, I sold my old house to help her buy a new one. That's how I ended up living here with them. And back then I had already drained my savings paying off Roger's debts. She knew all of that. That's why she felt so secure now, why she could throw me out without a second thought. I let out a long, weary sigh. Earlier today I had planned to tell Alicia something wonderful when she got home. That all of Roger's debts after our marriage had been paid off years ago. That an investment I'd made a few years back had skyrocketed in value. That not only was I finally debt-free, but I now had more than enough to buy her a bigger house, maybe even a new car. But now none of that mattered anymore. Patricia, don't take it to heart. Alicia was just upset, she didn't mean it. Alexander finally stepped in, trying to smooth things over. He shot Alicia a look, silently urging her to stop. But Alicia couldn't have cared less. She turned her head and scoffed, completely unfazed by the idea that I might actually leave. Where could she possibly go? If I weren't supporting her and letting her stay with us, she'd be just another lonely old woman stuck in a nursing home. I stared at her, hands clenched tight, forcing myself to keep my composure. After a long pause, I spoke quietly with a bitter edge in my voice. Fine. I'll leave. I had struggled my entire life, thinking I could finally spend my twilight years surrounded by family, enjoying the joy of grandchildren. But in the end, all it took was a deadbeat ex-husband and an ungrateful daughter to tear it all apart. My life had become a cruel, twisted punchline in a joke no one was laughing at. I said nothing more. In front of all three of them, people I once considered family, I turned and began packing my things. Not one of them tried to stop me. They just stood there watching as I gathered the pieces of my life into a suitcase. When I was ready to walk out the door, Alicia suddenly called out, "Mom." For a second my heart softened. I almost turned back. After all, she was still my daughter. I had poured everything I had into raising her. What mother could truly stop loving her child? I thought maybe, just maybe, she was going to ask me to stay. I was wrong. I turned around just in time to hear her say, "You can leave, but don't go bothering Dad." The faint smile that had just begun to form on my lips froze in place. I said nothing as I slammed the door behind me. And just as the door clicked shut, I heard their voices from inside. "Babe, are we really letting you mom just walk out like that? What's there to worry about? He's got what, maybe $200 on her? Where's she gonna go? This is just to teach her a lesson. She'll come crawling back by morning." Outside I let out a bitter laugh. So this is what my daughter thought of me. In a way, Alicia wasn't wrong. I really didn't have more than $200 in cash on me. Most months, half of my retirement check went toward helping her pay the mortgage. The rest covered groceries and basic expenses. That night, I ended up checking into a rundown motel for $50 a night. The place was old, the room damp and musty, and the bed creaked with every move. I barely slept. My dreams came in jagged, restless fragments. Memories of the past I tried so hard to bury. In the dream, I was cradling a young Alicia in my arms, begging debt collectors at our door for more time, pleading for mercy. Back then, sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. I was up before dawn every day, working 3 jobs just to make ends meet. I used to tie Alicia to my back with a cloth sling while I worked, and only when she was old enough for the local daycare did I finally catch a breath. I had clawed my way through those hellish years, paid every cent of Roger's debt. And now, just when I thought the worst was behind me, he reappeared. The image from the video suddenly flashed in my mind again, jarring me awake. I sat up and checked my bank account. Then I saw the calendar alert. My monthly reminder to transfer money toward Alicia's mortgage. I stared at it for a moment, then calmly swiped my finger across the screen and deleted it. And for the first time in a long while, I felt a faint, fragile sense of relief. I got up, determined to start fresh. The first thing I did was buy myself a new phone. The old one was nearly 8 years old. A birthday gift I had bought for myself. Alicia had once mentioned buying me a new one, but I told her not to waste money and she never brought it up again. So the old phone just stayed with me until now. After getting the new phone, I called a real estate agent. I wanted to look at move-in ready apartments, something fully furnished and easy to settle into. What I didn't expect was to run into Roger and Eva. Even more ironic, we were eyeing the exact same property. There's a reason they say nothing burns hotter than hatred when enemies meet. That moment had finally come. Eva appeared out of nowhere, clinging tightly to Roger's arm, as radiant and smug as ever. She was well into her 50s now, just like me, but somehow still looked like the pampered princess she'd been 3 decades ago, untouched by hardship, glowing from years of indulgence. The real estate agent, clearly trying to drive up the price, made a show of it in front of me. These two just returned from Germany. They're planning to sign the contract today. I let out a cold laugh, eyes fixed on Roger. Is that so? Since when can debt-dodging lowlifes travel abroad? Eva didn't miss a beat. Tightening her grip on Roger's arm like she was staking a claim, she snapped, "Patricia, it's been decades. Can't you let go of my husband already?" "Your husband?" I casually tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and looked her in the eye. Eva had misunderstood one thing. I had nothing left for Roger but contempt. But that didn't mean I'd